Hey, what's going on, people? Just trying to do another video here. I wanted to talk today about Eternal Masters. So, for the most part, I'd actually say that WotC, well, I don't want to say that WotC did a good or great job with it. They certainly did a better job with it than they have done with Masters sets in the past. Um, the first modern Masters, of course, kind of went haywire because of the uh, poor judgment on the print run size and the MSRP being too low. The second Masters probably shot the other direction, the MSRP being a bit too high given what they printed, and or the print run size being too large. Um, the Eternal Masters print run size seems to be about correct. And the MSRP, I think it's closer to its MSRP in terms of your return on investment than either of the other two. With Modern Masters 1, your value was too good. Modern Masters 2, your value wasn't quite good enough. So, but despite the fact that they've done a better job with Eternal Masters, I still feel like there's a ways to go, and it's still a little frustrating to me that the learning curve seems to be so slow with these Masters sets. Um, though I will say I'm very happy that Eternal Masters exists because a product like that is definitely needed to keep prices under control, especially with the popularity of EDH. I'm not really sure that Legacy is actually that huge of a driver. I think that most of the price driving for these Eternal cards is happening because of EDH. So, um, the big problem, I think, is the continued insistence on WotC's part to kind of like shoehorn in a draft format or a limited format for these master sets. And I really feel like that's totally unnecessary given that, most people can't afford a $30 draft. And that's assuming there's no prize support, right? Because $30 is 3 packs. They certainly can't afford $60 sealed. And that's with no prize support as well. So I think that there's a fundamental disconnect there. If you want to have a $10 MSRP, which you can, I mean that's fine. You can't exactly make a limited format out of it because it's not a palatable price tag. It's not a reasonable dollars per hour entertainment budget to like plop down 30 bones on a 2 or 3 hour draft. I mean, that's expensive, man, frankly. And then there's all sorts of other problems, with drafting something that's expensive. Like, is it keep what you draft? And if you open a pack that has a great rare or mythic and a great foil, what are you supposed to do in that circumstance? There's a lot of problems there. So I feel like a lot of the genesis of a lot of the problems is the draft format. Um, but their problems exist nonetheless. And the main problem, as far as I can see it, is well, I mean, I've got it up here on the page right now. It's these bulk rares. You know, there's no place in a $10 booster pack for a rare that's 49 cents. I mean, there's, there's two major problems with that. The first problem, and both problems are big problems, but the first problem is that you're going to get a lot of bad, PR press, a lot of feels bad, a lot of anger from the Magic community when people are buying these $10 booster packs and opening up a rare or, something in their rare slot that's worth less than $1. I mean, frankly, if it's worth less than $3, people are probably going to be pissed, and I think that's justifiably so, right? Like if you open a dollar rare from a regular booster pack that you paid $4 for, then your rare is worth 25% of what you paid. If you open a card that's a buck 99 or less from a Modern Masters pack, it's not even 20%. And that's if you got it for 10 bucks. So I think that these bulk rares are an awful problem. I mean, Unexpectedly Absent didn't need a reprint. Sulfuric Vortex has been reprinted recently. Sphinx of the Steel Wind has had promos before. So, despite the fact that the card is bomb as fuck, it's, price was not really an issue. Nobody's playing Sylvos in anything. That's clearly here for draft. Siege Gang is not terrible, because people do use him a lot in Commander. But, I mean, he could have been a Modern Masters card. To my knowledge, he's legal in Modern, but I can't remember. Serendib Efreet sees zero play. Same with Rorik's Blade Wing. I mean, Pyrokinesis, I didn't even think that was originally a rare. I was under the impression that that was from, like, alliances where there were no rares. There's only, like, very uncommon cards. I don't know. The Veneral's this, been in tons of Commander and other things, I mean, I get it. They're proud of themselves, and that picture is awesome. And it sees shitloads of EDH play, but that card did not need a reprint. Malicious Affliction is actually really cool, and there weren't enough of them out there. So I'm not that upset about Malicious Affliction, but I'm still not sure that Modern Masters or any Master set is the right time to reprint it. Karmic Guide's been in a few things, used to be a valuable card. It wasn't even a valuable card before the Eternal Masters reprint. Jareth, are you kidding me? Inkwell's been reprinted just like Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Goblin Trenches didn't need it. Glare of Subdual's really cool, but like the world was not hurting for more Glares of Subdual. Giant Solifuge is just terrible. Future Sight is a really cool card, but again, I think it got like a conspiracy printing or something. Like there's plenty of those out there. I mean, all these cards here, I love the fact that they reprinted Control Magic, but that definitely could have been an uncommon. It's obviously for EDH, I get it, but like the card was not that valuable before this reprint because I believe it was originally printed as an uncommon. So, that wasn't. It's not like there was a serious lack of Control Magics. I mean, we can check that real quick. I don't want to waste too much time on this. Yeah, it was an uncommon in 3rd edition. It was an uncommon in 4th edition. Like, there's plenty of Control Magics out there. So, and the question is, so the first problem is you're opening a $10 pack and getting junk, which is terrible. But the second problem is actually more important, and that is that every time you print some garbage card in the rare slot, you didn't print a card that needed to be printed. And I've got here a list of stuff that, could use some reprint action, or at least is eligible for it. Food Chain is a card that could have used a reprint, definitely. I mean, I guess Ensnaring Bridge can go into Modern Masters, so whatever. Entomb, I mean, I don't think they reprinted Entomb. I think they reprinted Reanimate. I know Entomb has some other printings. Oh, okay, it's in Eternal Masters. Good for them, because that card is definitely needed it. But, and they got some of the ones on this list, so good for them. But then there's others on this list that just, for some reason or another, they chose not to, especially some of these lands. Dust Bowl would have been great as a reprint. And just kind of going up the page here, there's like 3 pages, by the way, of 100 cards that I've pulled up here that are kind of justifiable. Deserted Temple would have been good as a reprint. I mean, lands are always good, because they get a lot of use when they get use. Capel Coffers, like, seriously, man, that thing needs a reprint badly. I'm just trying to point out here that like the real problem isn't necessarily that they printed junk. I mean, that's bad. That is a problem. But the real problem is that when they printed the junk, they didn't print. Oh, Aura Shards, that would have been an awesome card for the uncommon slot. They didn't print these things that need the prints. And that drives the price of these cards up, and for no reason. It doesn't cost WotC any different amount of money to print any of these cards versus what they did print, right? Like, and I just feel like the Masters thing is already such a great way to reprint cards. It's such a judicious and even-handed way to do it that protects people's investment and brings prices down. I don't think land tax was printed. I mean, it definitely, we need more land taxes. There are not enough of those out there. Because it was originally rare, right? Rare in 4th edition, rare or uncommon in Legends. Like there's not enough land taxes. That card needs it, frankly. Um, and there are even worse offenders on this list than that. Uh, we'll see some of them pop up. Mana Vault. Oh my God, man, that thing is like the other Soul Ring. We need more Mana Vaults. I believe Mana Vault was originally an uncommon, so that could have been another good card um, to come in as an uncommon. Let's see if I'm correct. Oh, it was originally a rare? Dude, that thing is going to go up in price so much because it wasn't in Eternal Masters. I mean, I don't think it's on the reserved list. I don't know. Control F. Mana? Mana Web. Mana Matrix. Uh, Mana. Mana Matrix. Mana Vortex. And Mana Web. Yeah. Mana Vault, that would have been a great reprint. So, that I think is the real big problem with what they did is that they printed some bulk rares, which is bad because people open packs and they get pissed off because they get a bulk rare. But then it becomes even worse because they didn't print these cards that needed reprints, whose prices will now go up. They'll be even harder to find. I mean, here's a great one, Phyrexian Altar. Like, seriously, man, that card needs a reprint badly. That would have, you would have been happy to open an Eternal Masters pack and get Phyrexian Altar as your mythic rare. And frankly, they could have done it as a regular rare because it's a colorless artifact that sees shitloads of play in EDH. So it's a card that, there's plenty of demand for Phyrexian Altar. It could sustain a regular rare reprint. It doesn't need to be mythic. Rashad and Port, like, oh my god. If that card had been reprinted as a mythic, talk about a great pack to open. I mean, I'm not sure it would have been if it would have been the most valuable card in the set, but it would have been up there. It would have been one of the most valuable cards in the set. Seedborn Muse needs a reprint so bad, although I guess technically it could be in Modern Masters, so maybe they're holding off for that. Um, a lot of these cards are just great cards that the demand exists to reprint them. Sterling Grove's an uncommon would be sweet. The demand exists to reprint them where their price would not just like tank through the floor. And some of them, like Rashad and Port and Phyrexian Altar, I mean, that just feels like a missed opportunity to me of a card that would love a reprint, and it would not necessarily even hurt their value that much if they were printed at the correct rarity, because their demand is so high and the cards are so hard to find. So I definitely think that, you know, of all of these cards that they chose to print, they they could have chose at least a few to replace some of these bulk rares. And, there's also the fact that, to my knowledge, there's no like rare land cycle in Eternal Masters, which is also a bit frustrating because, that would be at least 5 decent cards to open. Um, The original Pain lands have all gone up in value. So maybe like some modern bordered versions of those with some cool pictures on them would be awesome. I mean, they may be saving that for Modern Masters too, but the first filter lands have gotten more and more popular. So there's stuff out there that could use the treatment. And I think that that's ultimately, if I had to identify the problem, that would be it, is that there are far too many bulk rares. You should minimize bulk rares in a set like Masters that has a $10 MSRP. It makes people feel bad when they open those bulk rares, and you miss the opportunity to hammer down prices of other cards that are rising. And effectually, you will have, just a continued imbalance because you did not address the problem. So to sum it up, good job, WotC. You did a lot of things better this time, but there's still a few out there that could be fixed. I think the bulk rare problem is the biggest problem that I'd like to see not exist in the next Masters sets. At least that is if you want to keep the MSRP at $10, which I do not think is unreasonable. And hey, you can make more money because you can print you could print 10 or 20% more packs if you get rid of a lot of the bulk rares, because the demand will go up for buying the packs because the expected value will go up of the packs. So you can print more, they will get gobbled up, people will buy them happily, and you won't just have a bunch of cards flooding the market because you're being quite selective with the rares, as opposed to, just including some stuff that is clearly draft garbage, or is, I mean, just frankly, I'm not even sure with some of these cards like what they're doing in here. Like Future Sight. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember, it just got a conspiracy reprint. Like that card was already in circulation. So I look forward to whatever comes next. Probably Modern Masters 3. I wouldn't mind it if it was Eternal Masters 2 and they just stopped printing Modern Masters, because all modern cards are eternal. So the set could now just be called Eternal Masters, and you print modern and legacy cards in it. I don't think there would be a problem with that. If anything, it makes it easier to reprint cards of value because you have a wider pool to choose from. So you don't have to be as narrow. And if anything, it allows you to keep your ridiculous draft format intact because you've got such a wide pool to choose from if you have all of the cards that are legal in Legacy and Modern. So, you wouldn't have to screw things up by including so much garbage. Anyway, that's my video on Eternal Masters and how it all went down. For the most part, good job. Certainly better than it used to be, but by no means a home run. There's still room for improvement.